Hello friends. About 99% of friends who watch my videos are not subscribed, and I would be very happy if you did. Also, don't forget to press the like button and leave your comments. Your interaction makes the content reach everyone and helps the channel grow. Also, let me know in the comments from which country you are watching the video. You ever drive down a highway so empty it feels like the whole world forgot it existed? I'm not talking about your average midnight cruise. I mean a road so silent you start hearing your own thoughts echo back at you. That's how this all started. My name's Rick, and I've been driving big rigs for nearly 30 years. I've seen blizzards bury whole towns, chased the sunrise through the desert, and once drove straight through the edge of a tornado outside Wichita. But nothing prepared me for what I found on Highway 77B. Now you probably haven't heard of it. Hell, I hadn't either. GPS didn't show it. Map didn't have it. But there it was, cutting through the woods just south of Memphis, a road that shouldn't exist. The detour sign looked brand new, fresh paint, not a speck of dust on it, like someone had just planted it there for me. Said, alternate route, clearance ahead. I was running late on a haul of steel beams up to Michigan and didn't want to waste an hour backtracking after hitting a roadblock. I should have turned around. The first thing that struck me was how fast the silence fell. No crickets, no wind, no engine hum, just a kind of thick, heavy quiet like the world was holding its breath. The trees pressed in closer the further I went. I flicked on my high beams, and it felt like the darkness swallowed the light instead of pushing it back. The road was cracked, patched in weird places like someone had tried to hide something underneath it, but I kept driving. About 20 miles in, my radio cut out. I mean, it didn't just lose signal. It fizzled into white noise and then into whispering. I turned the knob, flipped the switch, even pulled the fuse. Nothing worked. But the whispering didn't stop. It wasn't coming from the speakers anymore. It was coming from the cab, right behind me. I looked into the mirror. Nothing. Just the trailer behind me, and the trees, and something small moving between them. Could have been a deer. Could have been a shadow. I kept telling myself that. Kept telling myself I was just tired, just stressed, just imagining it. But then the whispering stopped, and a voice I hadn't heard in over a decade said, "You shouldn't be here, Rick." I slammed the brakes. The truck skidded a little, but held steady. I spun around in my seat, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. No one was there. But the smell was smoke, burnt rubber, and something else, something sweet and rotting like meat left out in the sun. I got out, slammed the door, and took a flashlight to check the trailer. Everything looked fine. Seals were in place, locks untouched. But the fog had rolled in, thick and fast, curling around my boots and up the trailer's wheels like fingers. I swept the light across the road, across the trees, and saw eyes. Red ones. Dozens of them. All staring from the woods. I backed into the cab, locked the door, and gunned it. I don't know how long I drove. Hours, maybe. The road didn't end. It just kept stretching. Endlessly. No exits. No mile markers. No signs. The trees never thinned. The fog never lifted. And worst of all, I never once saw the moon. Just black sky, dead stars, and that damned road. Eventually, I saw something. Ahead, a figure standing dead center in my lane. I hit the horn. No response. Hit the brakes. The truck shuddered to a stop 20 feet from them. It was a woman. Pale skin. Dark hair matted to her face. She wore what looked like a hospital gown soaked through with blood, hanging off her like wet paper. She wasn't blinking, just staring. And smiling. I reached for the radio again, out of habit. Static. She raised her hand slowly and pointed behind me. I didn't want to look. Every hair on my body stood on end. But I looked anyway. There was someone in my sleeper berth, a man, burnt, charred. His skin looked like melted candle wax. But I recognized him, Mitch Holloway, my old co-driver. He died in 2009. Rollover crash in the Appalachians. We were hauling refrigerated goods, road iced up, and we lost traction. I crawled out. He didn't. I blinked, and he was gone. So was she. I was alone again. Or at least I thought I was. Because the trailer started moving. Not the whole thing, just inside. You ever hear something heavy dragging across metal? It makes a sound you don't forget. Slow, scraping, like nails on a coffin lid. I climbed back into the cab and did the only thing I could do. I kept driving. But the road didn't end, and the whispering started again. I must have driven for another 50 miles, maybe more. My GPS still showed nothing. No location. Just a gray screen like I'd fallen off the face of the earth. The needle on my compass spun in circles. I kept the wheel steady, but the road began to change beneath me. The pavement turned rough like it hadn't been maintained in decades. Potholes the size of bathtubs started appearing, and the trees looked off, twisted, wrong. Their trunks bent toward the road like they were listening. Their branches weren't just moving with the wind, they were reaching. I caught movement. In the side mirror again, this time clearer. Someone was running alongside the trailer, not beside it, beside me. I was doing 60 and this person was keeping up. I glanced over and nearly swerved off the road. It was Mitch again. His face was split in a jagged grin that didn't belong on a living man. His legs didn't move like they were supposed to. He wasn't running. He was gliding, like his feet never touched the asphalt. I slammed the gas pedal, heart jackhammering in my chest. 65, 70, 75. Still there, still smiling, then suddenly gone. Just vanished into the fog and the road. It started humming. I don't mean the engine or the tires, I mean the actual road. Like it was alive. Like it was breathing beneath the wheels. I could feel it through the seat, through my boots. A low, vibrating hum that made my bones ache. I gritted my teeth and pressed on. Whatever was happening, it wasn't going to end with me pulling over and giving in. I kept driving until I saw lights up ahead. Red and blue flashing. Relief hit me so hard I almost cried. I figured it had to be a state trooper or someone who could help. I slowed down and rolled to a stop behind the cruiser parked sideways across the road. The door was wide open. No officer in sight. I stepped out cautiously, calling out, "Hello, officer? I think I'm lost." That's when I saw the blood. It pooled beneath the driver's side door, thick and glistening in the light from my headlights. The radio in the cruiser crackled with static, and then a voice broke through, garbled but clear enough. "He's here. He found the road. Too late now." I backed away. My instincts screamed at me to run, to get back in the cab and drive, but my legs didn't move. That's when I heard the knocking, from inside my trailer. 3 soft knocks, then silence, then 3 more. I stared at the locked doors, suddenly aware of how alone I was, how far from any real help. I climbed up to the back cautiously and through, the latch open. The door creaked as it lifted, and I saw nothing, just darkness. And then a face emerged from the shadows. Not Mitch, not the woman. Something else entirely. Its skin looked like stretched leather. Its eyes were too wide, its smile too human. It didn't belong in this world. It didn't move. It was just there, 1 second invisible, the next right in front of me. "Leave," it whispered. I slammed the trailer shut and ran for the cab. I didn't stop driving after that. I ignored the curves, blew through what few signs remained. They didn't make sense anyway. Letters all jumbled, twisted like they were melting. The night never lifted. The sun never came. My fuel gauge stayed full no matter how far I went. Should have run out of diesel hours ago. I drove past the same sign 5 times. "Welcome to Black Hollow." It looked hand-painted, crooked, like a child had done it in the dark. No houses, no lights. Just that same damn sign every 10 miles. And then I saw them. People, standing by the side of the road. Silent. Still. They wore clothes from different decades. A guy in a 1940s mailman outfit. A woman in a 70s waitress uniform. A kid holding a teddy bear that was soaked red at the seams. They didn't blink, didn't breathe. They watched. One of them stepped onto the road as I passed. I looked back, and he was gone. That happened again, and again. More people, more watchers, some with faces, some without. And in my side mirror, always, that damn woman from the beginning, walking, grinning, getting closer. The whispers came back louder now in voices I recognized. My old man, my dispatcher, my daughter's laugh. They weren't saying anything, just being. A presence. Echoes of people I loved, that had no business being on this road. I covered my ears and still heard them. The sky cracked open, not with light, but with screams. And through it all, I kept driving, because I knew if I stopped, I wouldn't start again. I don't know how long I was out there. Hours. Days, maybe. Time didn't work right anymore. My phone died but never turned off. The clock on my dashboard blinked 3:33, no matter how many times I reset it. My body was tired, but my hands kept the wheel tight like they'd been wired to it. My throat went dry, stomach empty, but I never felt hungry. I just was. I started seeing signs of wrecks along the shoulder, not just old crashes, fresh ones, still smoking, still warm, cars with the windows smashed in and claw marks etched across the doors. No bodies, just the aftermath. One of them had a baby seat in the back, rocking slowly like someone had just left. Then came the whispers again. But this time, they weren't in the truck. They were in my head. Pull over, Rick. You're already dead, Rick. She's behind you, Rick. I wouldn't look. Not again. My headlights finally caught something ahead. A tunnel. There shouldn't have been a tunnel. This stretch of country didn't have mountains. But there it was. Cut right into a hill that hadn't been there yesterday. Stone, old and crumbling, with iron gates wide open like it had been waiting for me. The road led straight in. No other way to go. I clenched the wheel and entered. Inside, it was so dark my high beams barely reached 10 feet. The walls looked slick, wet with something too thick to be water. I kept the truck centered, inching forward, every instinct in me screaming. That's when the lights cut out. Not just mine, all of them. Complete blackness. Then the laughter started. Dozens of voices echoing around the tunnel like they were right beside me. Children, women, men, some angry, some gleeful, all wrong. Then came the scratching, first on the trailer, then on the cab, then on the inside of the windows. I looked around wildly but saw nothing, just those sounds, laughter, nails, whispers, a concert of madness. I don't remember stopping, but when the lights came back, I wasn't in the tunnel anymore. I was parked in the middle of an empty field, no road in sight, no trees, no sky, just mist and that dead, open plain. The truck wasn't running, but the engine was warm. The gauges were normal, but the trailer door was open. I didn't open it. Something had. I climbed out of the cab slowly, boots crunching dry, brittle grass beneath me. Every step felt wrong, like the ground didn't want me walking on it. I made my way to the back and pulled the trailer doors wide. Empty, completely empty. No beams, no load. Nothing except one thing. A small, blood-stained notebook lying in the center. I picked it up. My name was written across the front in jagged red ink. Rick Thompson, my handwriting. Inside were entries. Dozens of them. Stories. Logs. Dates. All of them matched my routes. My deliveries. My miles, except they went back further than my own memory. Entries from 1987, 1974, 1959, before I was even born, all signed with my name. Some were crossed out. Some were just single lines repeated over and over. The road takes what it wants. The dead drive forever. She's always in the mirror, and the last page was a photo. Me, sitting in the cab, dead behind the eyes, mouth open in a silent scream. My fingers went numb. I dropped the notebook and backed away. I ran to the cab, climbed in, turned the key, and the engine started. Somehow, against all logic, I hit the gas, tires spinning dirt, and aimed toward the mist. There was no road, but the truck moved anyway. I don't know how long I drove through that gray, but eventually a shape took form in the distance. A diner, lit up, buzzing neon sign that said, "Open." I nearly cried. I parked the rig and stumbled inside, bell jingling above the door. Warm, bright. The smell of grease and coffee. People were inside, normal-looking folks. A waitress in her 50s poured a cup and set it down at the counter. "You made it," she said softly without looking. I sat down, hands shaking. "Where am I?" She finally looked at me. Her eyes were all black. Between, she poured more coffee. "You've been driving a long time, Rick. Time to rest." I turned to look outside. The truck was gone. The field, gone. Just blackness beyond the diners, windows. I looked around, recognized a face. The guy from the 1940s mailman outfit, the waitress from the 70s, even the little boy with the bloody teddy bear. They were all sitting quietly, drinking, staring at nothing. "What is this place?" I asked. The woman smiled. "You'll understand. When it's time to get back behind the wheel." I stood up, stumbled toward the door, but when I opened it, I was back in the cab. Same hum of the engine, same fog, same endless road. But now, I could see others, other trucks, driving the same road beside me, each driver dead-eyed, each cab glowing faintly from the inside. Some trucks looked 100 years old, rusted, falling apart, still moving. We were all part of it now, the eternal convoy. I don't know how long I've been driving in that convoy. Minutes? Years? Time bends out here like it's made of rubber. The sky never changes. That choking low fog hangs thick and still. There's no sun, no moon, no stars. Just the soft, dead glow of other headlights breaking the darkness ahead of me. I see shapes in the mist sometimes, things that look like road signs but they're wrong. Twisted metal nailed to rotting wood, pointing in directions that don't exist. Left, to Sorrow. Right to Bone Creek. Dead end. Next exit. Some of the signs bleed. Sometimes I talk out loud just to hear my own voice. It helps me remember I'm still in here. Still me. But the voice that answers back through the CB radio isn't always mine. It's deeper, rougher, like an echo that got stuck on the road too long and turned into something else. The other drivers never speak. I've passed dozens, hell, maybe hundreds, but I've never seen one blink. Their faces just hang there, frozen in expressions of terror, confusion, rage. Some are so decayed they look like they've been driving since the 1920s, skin stretched tight over bone, old uniforms molded into their flesh. I tried turning off the truck once. I pulled over, if you can call it that, and killed the engine. Took the key out. It was silent for half a second. Then the radio came alive. Not with voices, with screams. Hundreds of them, screaming all at once, overlapping, clawing into my skull like nails on bone. The lights in the cab flickered. The mirrors cracked. My breath turned white and the air smelled like a fresh grave. Something knocked on the back of the sleeper berth. Slow, deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. I shoved the key back in and turned the ignition so fast I nearly broke it. As soon as the engine rumbled back to life, everything stopped. Quiet again. The windshield uncracked. The air warmed. The knocking stopped. I learned my lesson. You don't stop driving. Ever. Once you're on this road, there's no shoulder to pull off onto. No exit ramp. The second you stop, they start coming. And sometimes they ride along. I caught sight of someone sitting in the passenger seat a few days back. If days even mean anything here. I didn't look. You never look. But I felt her. Cold and heavy like wet cloth draped in a meat locker. The air pressure changed, got thick like syrup. My breath fogged the inside of the windshield. Her fingers tapped the dashboard, slow and out of rhythm with the engine. She never spoke, just tapped. I kept driving, hands tight on the wheel, praying she'd leave. Eventually she did, but she took the scent of rot with her, and now it never leaves the cab. I hear music sometimes, old-timey tunes from radios that shouldn't exist. Blue Moon played on a loop once for 20 straight miles. Another time it was a woman singing in a language I couldn't recognize. No instruments, just her voice. But her voice made me cry, even though I didn't know why. Something in it remembered me. I drove past a place I'd seen before, or thought I had, an old truck stop called Earl's. Rundown, windows busted out, neon sign half lit. I remembered stopping there years ago in the real world. Got coffee and a stale muffin. The guy behind the counter had one green eye and one cloudy one. Said my truck smelled like the ones that come back. Now it was here, on this road. Same broken windows, same flickering sign. Only now there were figures inside. Dozens of them. Standing still, all staring out the window at me. One of them looked like me. I didn't stop. Sometimes I catch glimpses of a bridge that leads off the main road, glowing red like it's burning from underneath. I thought about taking it once, thinking it might be the way out. Just as I edged the wheel toward it, the air changed. Everything went dead silent. My tires started to sink into the pavement like the road didn't want to let me go. So I veered back into the center and kept going. The bridge vanished behind me. I've met others who got caught in the loop. Not drivers, walkers, people who tried to take shortcuts. Hitchhikers. Hikers. Some old lady with a suitcase dragging behind her, muttering about a bus that never showed. A kid with a guitar strapped to his back, face stitched shut like someone sewed his mouth closed after a scream that went on too long. They're part of the scenery now. They never look you in the eye. They don't blink. They just watch. Once I saw a truck ahead of me jackknife hard, trailer flipped. The cab crashed through a dead tree. I stopped just long enough to see if anyone got out. No one did. But then the headlights came back on, and the cab turned itself upright. The driver never moved. The truck just kept going. Same pace. Right back onto the road. I followed it for hours. That's when I realized I recognized the number on the side of the trailer. It was mine. My old rig, the one I totaled in a crash 5 years ago when I swerved to miss a dog and rolled it into a ravine. I broke both legs, crushed a lung. Barely made it out. Thought it was just an accident. Now it was here, still driving. No one inside. Or maybe, not no one, just not anyone alive. I couldn't look away from it. It kept glancing back in the mirrors, like it was watching me too. I swear to you, I'm not insane. Not yet, but I'm close. And I think that's the trick of the road. It doesn't kill you. It empties you. Hollow, mile after mile, until you're just another truck in the convoy, another dead set of headlights in the fog. And when that happens, you stop remembering where you came from. You stop caring who you were. You just keep driving forever. There's something about the road that gets inside your head. Not just the repetition or the silence or the weird time stretches, but something deeper, something under the pavement, like the highway itself is alive and hungry. I started noticing it more the longer I drove. The way certain cracks in the road seemed to shift. The way the painted lines bled into the shoulders at night, writhing like veins. There are whispers too, always just out of range, like you're picking up a signal from some old radio station that doesn't exist anymore. Sometimes it's voices, sometimes it's laughter, sometimes it's screaming, and sometimes it's my name. Once, I swear I heard my mother's voice, clear as day. She's been dead since I was 16. She called out from the CB radio like she was just checking in. "You okay, honey? You need to pull over and rest." I almost did it. I almost pulled over. But I saw the sign flash by right then. Just a blur in the dark, glowing faint red under the fog. It didn't say rest area. It said rest here forever. so I kept going. Not long after that, the road changed. Always does when you're getting too close to remembering who you are. I ended up in a stretch where the trees had eyes. I'm not kidding. Real, blinking, weeping eyes, lining every trunk like sores. Some were swollen shut, some stared right at me. One had a contact lens stuck to it like someone had tried to be polite. They followed me as I drove like the whole forest was watching, judging. That's when I passed the school bus, empty, except for the driver. His face was torn off, stuck to the steering wheel like a mask someone ripped off too hard. His hands twitched every few seconds, like they still remembered the route but forgot the kids were all gone. And then I drove into the stretch. I don't have a better name for it. It's a piece of road that doesn't end, literally. I marked my odometer, drove it for 3 straight days, or what felt like days. Same scenery, same cracked billboard for Sal's all-you-can-eat steakhouse, the one with the bloody knife instead of a fork in the logo. Same dead crow stuck in the grill of a red convertible parked on the side. Every loop, the convertible got closer, to the road. Every loop, the driver inside looked more like me. By the 12th loop, he waved. I didn't wave back. Eventually, you learn not to engage with your reflections. They're not you, not anymore. That night, or whatever passed for it, I saw the moon again. It was hanging real low in the sky, heavy and red like it had been bleeding for years. Underneath it was a motel I could have sworn I stayed at before. Pine Hollow Lodge. Looked peaceful enough. Porch light was on. Vacancy sign buzzed quietly. I stopped. I don't know why. Curiosity, maybe. Or I was finally losing it. When I opened the door to the front office, the bell didn't ring. The air inside smelled like mold and something sweet, like rotting candy. There was a man behind the counter with no eyes, just blank skin stretched over where they should have been. He asked me how long I'd been driving. I didn't know what to say. He nodded like that made sense. "You're not the first," he said. Then he handed me a key. Room 6. The hallway was lined with mirrors, but none of them showed my reflection. Just empty space. When I got to room 6, I opened the door and saw myself sitting on the bed. Only it wasn't me. It was another version of me. Older, grayer. Eyes sunk in deep, like he'd been there for decades. He didn't speak, just smiled. And then he whispered, "You finally made it home." I ran, didn't look back, fired up the rig and peeled out of the lot so fast the gravel lit up under the wheels. I've seen that motel again since then, shows up every few 100 miles, but I never stop. I know what it is now. It's where the road wants to trap you when you've forgotten too much, when you start thinking it's all a dream, but it's not. This is real. This is still happening, and there are others out here with me. I've heard them on the CB, late at night. Not ghosts. Drivers. Ones who never made it home. Truckers who disappeared without a trace. One guy named Carl says he's been out here since 1987, still hauling the same empty trailer. Another guy talks about a woman who walks across the road in front of him every 66 miles like clockwork. Says she wears a wedding dress soaked in blood. Never looks at him. Just crosses the road and vanishes into the trees. Every single time. One girl said she used to work dispatch. Got caught in a freak highway pileup. Now she rides in the back of cabs whispering route numbers that don't exist. We're all out here, just driving. And the scariest thing is, we don't want to stop anymore. It's like the road's part of us now. We're not truckers. We're cargo, and the highway's taking us somewhere. Where? Hell if I know. But I think I'm getting close. Lately, the sky's been darker than usual. The headlights of other rigs are flickering more. I passed a sign last night. Didn't say a town name. Just one word, in dripping black paint. Deliverance. I don't know if that means I'm almost free, or almost gone. That sign, deliverance, it's been burned into my mind ever since I saw it. The word didn't just sit there on the side of the road. It followed me. Every reflective surface I passed after that, My mirrors, roadside puddles, the chrome of passing trucks. It flashed for just a second. Deliverance. It was like the highway was telling me I had a destination now. Not a stop, not a waypoint, but the end. That thought should have made me feel something. Relief, dread, maybe even hope. But instead, all I felt was heavier. Like someone had stacked a pallet of concrete on my chest and told me to keep driving anyway. I hadn't slept in. I don't even know how long. Time didn't make sense out here anymore. My logbook was empty. My clock spun numbers that didn't add up. But I didn't stop. Not even to piss. Not even to eat. The truck moved like it was dragging me, not the other way around. And then came the fog. Thick, unnatural, like cotton soaked in old dishwater. It rolled in too fast to be weather. 1 second, the sky was that weird, ash-gray night I'd grown used to. The next, it was like driving through a tunnel made of ghost breath. Headlights barely cut through it. My high beams only made it worse, bouncing light back into my face like some kind of punishment for looking too far ahead. Then I saw the silhouette. Dead center of the road. Not moving. A woman. She was facing away, long black hair stuck to her back, like seaweed. Her dress or robe or whatever it was dragged along the pavement, soaking up something I really didn't want to think about. I laid on the horn. No response. I tried flashing the brights. Nothing. She didn't flinch. Didn't breathe. I should have stopped. I should have pulled over, walked up to her, asked if she needed help. But that's the thing out here, you never stop. So I kept going. And as I passed her, I swear to you, swear on the last hot meal I ever ate. I heard a voice inside the cab. Not over the radio, inside. It whispered, "You missed your exit." I checked the passenger seat. Nothing. The sleeper behind me? Empty. But I still felt something sitting in there with me, watching, breathing slow and wet. Later that night, if you can call it night anymore, I came across a rest stop. Not on any map. No GPS ping. Just a glowing red sign that said, "Stop. Here." I didn't want to, but the rig pulled in on its own. Like the wheel turned without me. I parked. Got out. The air smelled like ozone and burnt feathers. The vending machines were old, real old, like 1950s style. And the buttons were smeared with what looked like teeth marks. Not blood. Teeth. Inside the bathroom, the mirrors didn't reflect anything. Just blackness. And not a flat, dead black. It moved. It pulsed like a heartbeat. In one of the stalls, I heard crying. A child. I backed away, slammed the door, and ran for the cab. As I climbed in, the truck was already rumbling. Lights flicked on. Radio crackled to life. And over the speaker, a voice said, "Now you've seen it. Now it sees you." That was 4 days ago. Maybe 5. I don't know anymore. I haven't stopped since. Every time I try, the world around me shifts. Like reality punishes me for trying to leave. The trees lean in. The road unravels behind me. I look in the mirror and see faces pressed up against the rear window. People I've never met. People I think I used to be. Once I passed a convoy. 3 rigs, running tight formation. Lights off. I tried to hail them on the CB. "Breaker, breaker, anyone riding north on this stretch?" Silence. Then, static. Then, "We already delivered, son." Then they vanished. Not over the hill. Not into the distance. Vanished, like they were never there. Now, I hear them whispering behind me when I drive. Not every minute. Just enough to remind me I'm not alone. Or maybe I'm too alone. Hard to tell the difference out here. I've started seeing myself in the distance. No joke. About once every 1,000 miles, I'll spot another truck. Same rig. Same decals. Same cracked windshield. Same driver. Me. He never waves. Never looks up. Just stares straight ahead like he knows the route by heart. Like he's done this loop before. Like he's me from a year ahead. I think he's the one who made it. Wherever it is. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to follow him. Or run. The other direction. Because every time I get close, he disappears. Once I swear I caught up, pulled alongside, looked through his window, and I swear to everything holy and unholy his eyes were sewn shut. That's where I'm at now, friend. Riding the same blacktop loop, hoping I don't forget my own name. Sometimes I scream it out just to make sure it still fits in my mouth. Ben Morris. Nothing answers. Not anymore. But tonight I saw another sign, a new one. It said, "End of the line." So maybe this is it. Maybe I'm finally reaching the last mile, or maybe that's just the start of the next level. I don't know. But if you're hearing this, if you're out there, somewhere behind the wheel putting in miles with your eyes half closed, just know this. If the road starts whispering to you, if the signs change when you blink, if you hear your mama's voice on the radio but she's been dead for years, don't stop. Don't pull over. And for the love of God, don't deliver the cargo. You don't know what's in the back. But they do, and they're waiting for you to open it. That night, I swear I could hear the trailer shifting behind me. Not just the usual creaks and groans from weight shifting over the axles. This was rhythmic, like something alive was pacing back and forth inside. The CB crackled again. I hadn't touched it. "Driver," the voice rasped. "You're leaking." I checked my mirrors, nothing obvious, no tire blowout, no fuel leak. But then I saw it, something slick trailing behind the truck on the asphalt. Not oil, not coolant. It was black, thick, gloopy, and it steamed when it hit the pavement. That's when I noticed the smell. Have you ever smelled rotting meat inside a hot plastic bag, left in the sun for 3 days straight? Multiply that by 10, add burnt hair, and throw in a dead raccoon for good measure. I gagged, pulled the air freshener off the dash, black ice naturally, and tossed it out the window. Didn't matter. The smell wasn't in the cab. It was in me. I heard a thump from the back, then another. Then it sounded like fingernails dragging across the inside of the trailer walls. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I locked the doors. Dumb, I know. Whatever was in there was already on board, and I doubt a couple locks would stop it. Still, it made me feel better. For a minute. Then the headlights of an oncoming vehicle lit up the cab. Except there wasn't a car. No tires on the road. No engine noise. Just light. And in that light, I saw a face in my side mirror, pressed against the glass like a kid peeking into a candy store. Mouth too wide. Eyes too many. It whispered, even though I couldn't see its lips move. "You were never supposed to make it this far." I floored it. Didn't matter the weight I was pulling, didn't matter the turns. I just put my foot through the floor and prayed the rig wouldn't tip. Trees whipped past like shadows with teeth. The road twisted like a living thing, and I followed it because I had no choice. Then the trailer door blew open. The latch should have been locked, double sealed. I always check it twice, but it swung open and stayed there. Like the darkness inside the trailer was inviting the night to come in and stay a while. I looked in my side mirror. I wish I hadn't. There were arms coming out. Long, thin, bone-white arms. Not human, not spider, something else. They dragged along the road behind me, scraping sparks off the asphalt, and they were crawling forward, crawling toward me. I jackknifed the truck. Hard. Tires screamed. The trailer slammed sideways, skidding across the highway in a cloud of burning. Rubber, I braced for the crash. It didn't come. Instead, everything just stopped. Silence. Stillness. I opened my eyes and saw I was no longer on any road I recognized. Just a black void stretching in all directions. No sky, no stars, just absence. The rig was frozen mid-slide, like someone had hit pause on reality. Then a man appeared on the hood of my truck, wearing a delivery uniform, but not from any company I knew. His badge just said, "Ferryman." He smiled at me. "Payment due," he said. "You've hauled our load long enough. Time to offload." I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came out. My throat was full, like something had crawled up from my gut and was sitting behind my tongue. He pointed behind him. The trailer, still open, and inside, a mirror, a full-length one. gleaming, impossibly clean. He gestured. "Take a look, driver." So I did. A week went by after that last night. I'd sworn off freight, but you know how it goes. Bills don't stop just because hell tried to recruit you. I started doing short hauls around town, nothing past 50 miles. Thought I'd be safe if I kept off the interstates and didn't take any jobs at night. I was wrong. It was a Tuesday afternoon, late fall, skies the color of wet concrete. I stopped at this no-name truck stop just off Route 19. Looked abandoned from the outside, but I was running on fumes and figured I'd roll the dice. When I stepped inside, the first thing I noticed was the silence. No radios, no TVs, no idle chatter. Just a humming refrigerator behind the counter and a single overhead bulb flickering like it was deciding whether to give up. The guy at the register looked like he'd been carved out of wax and left in the sun too long. Pale, melting, at the edges. He didn't speak when I walked in, just raised one bony finger and pointed toward the back. There was a wall of old pinboards, covered in faded photos, handwritten notes, license plates, even a child's shoe. At the center of the board, scrawled, in red ink like it had been scratched in blood, were the words, "The highway takes what it wants." Below that, dozens of Polaroids. Every one of them was a trucker, some smiling, some not. And I swear to you, dead serious, one of those photos was me, not like, oh hey, that guy looks like me. No, it was me. Wearing the same flannel shirt I had on right then, same damn hole in the sleeve. I turned to the waxy clerk. "Where'd you get this?" He just blinked, then whispered, "You haven't dropped the cargo yet." I turned and bolted. Didn't even fill the tank. Got back in the cab and drove till I saw other cars again. Till I saw light that felt real. I parked at a busy gas station off I-90 and sat in the cab, heart still punching my ribs. Then I felt it. A weight. Not emotional. Not metaphorical. A physical weight. Like something heavy had just shifted inside the trailer that I didn't have. Stepped out, opened the back doors. Empty. Of course it was. But when I closed them again, I caught it out of the corner of my eye. A shadow. Not moving with the sun. Standing still while everything else shifted. Watching. I didn't sleep that night, and when I finally did doze off, I dreamed of a long corridor made entirely of steering wheels. Hundreds of them. All spinning on their own. And each one had a pair of hands still gripping it. Gray, lifeless hands. They turned toward me in unison. Voices whispered through cracked lips. "You missed your exit." The next morning, my rig was covered in mud. From the inside, driver's seat soaked, footprints on the ceiling, and my rearview mirror shattered. Again. Now listen. I know you're probably thinking I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm just worn out, seen too many horror movies. But I know what I saw, and I ain't the only one. At a rest stop in Missouri, I met another old-timer, grizzled guy, eyes like burnt glass. Said his name was Curtis. He saw the look in my face and asked, "You been on that highway yet?" I nodded. He handed me a lighter, one of those old metal Zippos. There was a symbol carved into the side. Some kind of weird looping design. Didn't look like anything I'd seen before. "This here," he said, "ain't for lighting smokes. It's a signal. Light it once if you're in trouble. Twice if you've seen the Red Mile." "What's the Red Mile?" I asked. He didn't answer, just walked off and disappeared behind the trucks. I never saw him again. But I kept that lighter. Still got it, in fact. Haven't used it yet. But I feel the time coming. Because last night, after weeks of trying to play it safe, I saw the sign again. Glowing red letters, floating in the fog. "Stop here." Only this time, it wasn't just a sign. It was a door. Hanging in the middle of the road. No frame. No hinges. Just a red door with black iron handles and scorch marks at the base. My headlights flickered. The engine died. Everything went quiet. And the CB came alive. A voice. Not mine. Not human. It whispered, Delivery confirmed. The door stood there like it had always been part of the road, like it had grown out of the blacktop itself. The red paint was chipped, bubbled like it had been through fire. The iron handle steamed like it had just come out of an oven. And though every nerve in my body screamed at me to back away, turn the rig around and floor it in the opposite direction, I got out. Don't ask me why. Curiosity, maybe. Or maybe it was something stronger than that. Something that pulled me forward, like a hook buried deep under the skin, yanking me towards something ancient and foul. The second my boots hit the road, the air changed. No wind, no noise, no sound of crickets or trees or distant trucks. Just dead, still silence. It was like standing inside a vacuum. Even my thoughts didn't seem to echo in my own head. I reached for the door handle. It was burning hot, but I didn't let go. The second I pulled it open, the world around me cracked. The road vanished. The night peeled away like paper in a storm, and I was standing somewhere else entirely. A hallway. Endless. Black and wet like the inside of a lung. The floor squished beneath my boots. The walls pulsed with some kind of rhythm like a heartbeat. Low, slow, and wrong. Ahead of me, a line of figures stood shoulder to shoulder. All truckers. Dozens of them. Some looked fresh, eyes wide, expressions frozen in terror. Others looked like they'd been there for decades, rotting, desiccated, melded into the walls. Every one of them held a steering wheel in their hands, and all of them turned to look at me at once. One stepped forward. His face was pale, lips sewn shut with barbed wire. He held out a clipboard made of flesh with a pen fashioned from bone. At the top of the page, in that same spidery handwriting I'd seen before, manifest number 1313, final delivery, and my name was at the top of the list. The pen hovered in his hand. All I had to do was sign. But something inside me snapped. A memory. Back when I first started driving, before the miles drained the life out of me, before I knew what lay beneath the asphalt, I remembered my little girl, her laughter in the passenger seat of my beat-up pickup, her telling me she wanted to ride with me when she got older, that she loved how the world looked from the high seat of a big rig. I wasn't gonna sign. No matter what that thing did to me, I wasn't gonna sign my name and give up everything I still had left to fight for. I stepped back. The stitched mouth. Man lunged, I spun on my heel and ran. The hallway screamed, actually screamed, as if the walls themselves were angry that I wasn't playing along. The figures tried to grab me. Their arms stretched like taffy, fingers clawing, steering wheels spinning in rage. I ran faster. The red door appeared again at the end of the hall, and I dove through it just as the stitched man's hand grazed my boot. When I hit the pavement, on the other side I was back in my cab, engine idling, CB silent. But there were three things that told me I hadn't dreamed it. First, the door was still in my rear view, slowly dissolving into mist. Second, my clipboard in the cab now had a new delivery route marked in blood red. And third, there was a new key on my ring, one I'd never seen before. Old. Rusted. With a tag attached that simply read, "Use when." There's no road left, I haven't used it yet. But I've kept driving, not because I want to, but because I have to. Because that clipboard, it updates itself. Every time I finish a route, it gives me another. And every route is more twisted, more haunted, more hellish than the last. One of these nights, I know I'll run out of map. The sky will fall. The roads will bleed. And I'll have to use the key. But until then, I'm just a trucker, trying to outrun the end of the line. So if you're ever out there late at night, engine humming beneath you, radio dead silent, and you see a red door where there shouldn't be one, keep driving. Don't stop. And for the love of God, don't ever take the last delivery. I thought I had outrun the horrors of that damned highway, I really did. For a while I tried to convince myself that what I'd seen, what I'd felt, was just a result of exhaustion or stress. Maybe the road had just twisted my mind a bit. Many nights on the blacktop, Too many hours without seeing another soul. But deep down I knew that what I had encountered wasn't just a bad dream. And as the days stretched on, I felt the pull again. Not physically, but in my bones. It wasn't the red door or the ferryman or the twisted souls on the road. It was something else. Something quieter, but no less terrifying. It started with the mirrors. Every time I caught a glimpse of myself, I didn't look quite right. I'd see shadows in my reflection that weren't there in the cab with me. Faces that weren't mine. Faces of people I'd never met but somehow knew. Like I was staring into the past of every person who had ever sat behind the wheel before me. And the longer I stared, the more I realized they weren't just reflections. They were trapped. I know it sounds crazy, but tell me, what would you do if your reflection started moving when you didn't? One morning after a particularly brutal haul through the mountains, I pulled into a rest area. It was empty, not a soul around. The kind of place where you just want to stretch your legs, maybe get a coffee, and not think about the road. But when I stepped out of the truck, that same feeling hit me. The air was too thick, the silence too heavy. It was as if the whole world was waiting for something to happen. I glanced over at the sign for the rest area. It was the same one I had seen hundreds of times. But today it looked different. The letters were blurred, smeared, like someone had smeared grease over the surface. I couldn't read it. And then the pavement shifted. Not in the usual way, like cracks appearing from age. No, this was deliberate. It was as if something beneath the asphalt was moving, shifting around, digging into the ground, trying to break free. I turned to go back to the truck, but when I looked up, the sky was different. Not just darker. It was wrong. The sun had vanished, leaving only a cold, pale light that seemed to emanate from nowhere. The sky wasn't blue or black. It was gray. A dull, lifeless gray that stretched on forever. And then I saw the figure. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light, a shadow flickering in the corner of my vision. But when I turned, it was there. A woman, dressed in rags, her face pale and gaunt, eyes wide and hollow. She stood perfectly still at the far end of the lot, staring right at me. I knew better than to approach. I knew better than to even make a sound. But my body, for some reason, moved on its own, like I had no control. I stumbled toward her, the gravel crunching beneath my boots. My heart was pounding in my chest, each beat louder than the last. But no matter how fast I moved, she stayed the same distance away. It was like I was walking through molasses, and then I heard it. A voice, low and croaky, like it had crawled out of the earth itself. "Why did you leave?" I froze. It wasn't her voice. No, this wasn't her speaking. It was the voice of someone else. Someone who had been in that truck, in that cab years ago. I looked at the woman's face again, and the terror I felt multiplied, because the eyes staring back at me weren't hers. They were mine. I staggered back, my legs suddenly weak. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The world around me blurred, and I was falling through the ground, through the asphalt, deeper into the earth than I thought possible. And when I hit the ground, I woke up, back in the truck, the engine running. The sun now up, the sky a bright clear blue. But something had changed. The weight of the silence had grown. The air felt thicker, heavier. The sound of my breathing, the pounding of my heart. It felt muffled, like I was hearing underwater. I glanced in the mirror, and there it was again. A face that wasn't mine but was. A face that had been waiting. And then I knew. The highway was calling me back. There was no escaping it, no running from it. I started the engine, and that's when I heard it. A voice, low, barely a whisper through the static of the CB. "Your time's running out, driver. Deliver." I slammed my hand on the radio to cut it off, but it didn't stop. The voice kept speaking, repeating the same words over and over again, until I couldn't think of anything else. The road started to twist. The signs grew more distant, harder to read, and I could feel the truck pulling in directions I didn't want to go. It was like I was losing control, I've stopped at countless gas stations, truck stops, rest areas since that day. I've tried to talk to others, tried to find out if they've experienced what I have, but everyone I meet is either too scared to speak or too gone to remember. And every time I get behind the wheel, I know that I'm driving toward something, and no matter how fast I go, I'll never outrun it. The highways have a way of pulling you in, and once they do, they don't let go. That's the truth, the real truth, the one no one tells you when you first start driving. So if you're out there and you feel like you've been driving forever, like you've crossed the same stretch of road more than once, don't turn back, don't stop, because the minute you do, the minute you stop looking ahead and start looking behind, you'll see them, the ones who never made it, and once you see them, you're already one of them. The days blurred together, the road stretched on, endless, like the miles themselves had no end. I thought that I could maybe escape it, just pull into a different state, follow a different route, stop for a while. But no matter where I went, the road twisted and those same eyes, those same faces followed me. It was as if the highway was alive, aware of my every move, of every turn I made. I've been on the road for years now, but it feels like I've been here forever. I've driven through rain, through snow, through blistering heat, but nothing compares to the cold that grips my bones when I pass that one stretch of highway. The one that seems to go on forever no matter how many miles I clock in. You know the one, don't you? It's that stretch where the lights flicker, where the fog clings to the road like a heavy blanket, and where no matter how much you press down on the gas, the distance never shortens. I'd been driving for what felt like a week straight without sleep when I saw the signs again. Not the usual signs, the ones that tell you how many miles to the next exit or rest stop. No, these were different. They were handwritten, scrawled in messy black ink on yellowed paper, with a type of pen that felt wrong. It looked almost like it had been written by someone who didn't want to be seen, someone who was hiding the truth, but had to get it out. I don't know why I decided to stop at that rest area, but I did. Maybe it was the sheer exhaustion, or maybe it was the fact that my heart kept hammering in my chest as I passed the signs. Whatever it was the worst decision I could have made. When I pulled into the lot, the whole place felt wrong. The lights overhead flickered, casting strange shadows that stretched too long, too far. I was the only one there. The air felt thick, heavy, like it was suffocating me from all sides. I stepped out of the truck, needing a break from the cabin fever that had been gnawing at me for days. But as I looked around, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. I glanced toward the far side of the lot, and that's when I saw it. A figure. At first I thought it was just a person, maybe a fellow trucker. But the longer I looked, the more I realized it wasn't a person at all. It was a shadow. A shape that didn't belong, standing too still, too silent. I couldn't move at first. My body refused to react. It was like I was paralyzed, my limbs frozen to the ground, and then I heard the voice. A whisper in the air, cold and sharp, sending a shiver down my spine. "You shouldn't be here." I turned, but there was no one there. The figure, the shadow, whatever it was gone. I felt a sharp tug in my chest, like something was pulling me toward the far corner of the lot, where the shadow seemed to swallow up the light. Against every instinct in my body, I took a step forward. I don't know why I couldn't stop myself. It wasn't like me, but I couldn't turn around. And that's when I saw it. A truck, sitting there, just sitting, abandoned, rusted and decaying, like it had been left there for years. Its wheels were sunk deep into the gravel, as though it had been parked in place for far too long. There was no sign of life, but I knew. Someone had been there, someone had left it, and whatever had been in that truck wasn't supposed to be here. I walked toward it, my heart pounding harder now. I could feel the weight of the air pressing on me, suffocating me, making it hard to breathe. Each step seemed to echo louder than the last until the silence was deafening. When I reached the truck, the door was open, swinging in the wind, creaking like it had been abandoned a long time ago. I didn't want to look inside. I didn't want to know what was waiting for me in that truck, but something pushed me to take that step forward, to peek inside, And that's when I saw it. A man. Not just any man, though. He was hunched over, his face obscured by the brim of his cap, his hands clutching something in his lap. But it wasn't just the fact that he was there. It was the stillness. The way he sat there, unmoving, like he wasn't real. Like he was part of the truck, part of the road itself. I leaned in closer, and I saw what he was holding. A steering wheel, but it wasn't any ordinary steering wheel. It was made of bone, and it was covered in blood. I stumbled back, my breath catching in. My throat, "Leave, now," the voice whispered again, but this time it was louder, closer, like it was coming from within the truck itself. I turned and ran. I didn't look back, not once. But as I reached my truck, as I climbed into the driver's seat and slammed the door shut, I caught a glimpse of something in the rearview mirror. The truck, the rusted one, it was gone, vanished, like it had never been there at all. But I knew it was still out there, lurking, watching, waiting for the next person who would stumble into its path. I drove on, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. But it was too late. The road had me now, and it wasn't letting go. I don't know where the next stop will be. Maybe the road will end. Maybe the shadows will swallow me whole. Maybe I'll find another trucker who's been pulled into this nightmare too. But one thing's for sure, I won't stop. Not until I've delivered what's been asked of me. I'll keep driving, and maybe, just maybe, I'll see you out there. On the road. I know it feels like this story never ends. And truth be told, it won't. The road is endless, pulling you back, twisting you around. If you think this is where it stops, you're wrong, it's far from over. But maybe you need to hear it all. Maybe, like me, you need to understand just how deep this goes. There's something about the quiet that gets to you when you're out there on the road. You'd think it'd be peaceful, right? Just you and the hum of the engine, but it's not. It's too silent. It's like the highway is alive and it's breathing, watching, waiting. I've passed a lot of strange things in my time as a trucker. Some folks say the road messes with your head, and maybe they're right. But some things don't feel like they're just in your head. I swear to you, it's real. One night, it was colder than usual. A thick fog had rolled in, so dense I could barely see the truck's headlights cutting through the gray. The highway stretched out before me like some endless abyss, and there was a sense of dread that clung to the air. I couldn't shake it. It was like something was pulling at my insides, dragging me deeper into whatever nightmare the road had become. I had to stop. I couldn't go any further. My eyes were heavy with exhaustion. My mind was foggy from the endless miles, and the silence. It was crushing. I pulled into a rest area. It was the same one I always used, but tonight it felt different. The lights flickered overhead, casting long, distorted shadows across the lot. The place was empty. No other trucks, no cars. Just a patch of asphalt and the hum of electricity in the air. I stepped out, stretching my legs, feeling the cold bite of the night air against my skin, and then I saw it. A figure standing at the far end of the lot, just standing there. The way it moved, it wasn't human. It was too jerky, too unnatural, like it didn't belong. And it was staring right at me. I froze. I should have gotten back into the truck. I should have driven off, gotten out of there. But I couldn't. My feet wouldn't move. It was as if some invisible force had me pinned to the ground, forcing me to watch. The figure took a step forward, its eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. I couldn't make out its features, but I could see the outline clearly enough. Tall, thin, and covered in rags. As it got closer, I noticed something strange. Its feet weren't touching the ground. It hovered just a few inches above the asphalt. That's when I heard the whispers. Soft at first, like the rustling of leaves, but then louder, sharper. "Help us." I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I just stood there, staring at the thing that wasn't quite human as it floated closer and closer. The whispers grew more frantic, more desperate. "Don't leave. Help us." I stumbled back, tripping over my own feet. My heart was pounding in my chest, and my breath came in ragged gasps. I finally managed to tear my eyes away from the figure and run back to my truck. But as I fumbled for the keys, I realized something horrible. I wasn't alone. The whispers weren't coming from the figure anymore. They were coming from the truck. Didn't know how it was possible, but there was no mistaking it. The whispers were inside the cab, soft at first, then building in intensity. The voice was distorted, like it was coming through a broken speaker, but it was clear enough. "Don't drive. Don't leave." I didn't wait for it to say more. I threw open the door, jumped in, and slammed it shut. My hands were shaking as I turned the ignition. I floored the pedal, not even bothering to check the mirrors. I just wanted to get out of there, away from whatever had found me. But no matter how fast I drove, no matter how many miles I put between myself and that rest stop, the feeling didn't go away. That night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. My mind was racing, my heart still thumping in my chest like it was going to burst. Every time I blinked, I could see the figure's face, its glowing eyes. The whispers echoed in my head, growing louder with each passing mile. It was like they were inside me, crawling under my skin. Eventually, I had to stop. I found a quiet stretch of highway and pulled over, hoping for just a few minutes of rest. But as soon as I shut the truck off, the whispers came back. I tried to block them out, but it was impossible. The whispers were inside my mind now, rattling around in my skull. I had to get out of the truck. I couldn't breathe. It was like the walls were closing in on me. I stumbled out into the night, but as soon as my feet hit the ground, the whispers stopped. And that's when I saw it. A figure standing on the side of the road, just like the one from the rest stop. But this one was different. This one wasn't floating. It was walking toward me. Slow, deliberate steps. I couldn't move. I just stood there, frozen in place. It was the same figure, the same rags, the same glowing eyes. And then it spoke. "You can't leave. You belong to the road now." The air around me grew cold. I could see my breath in the air, and I knew I had to get back in the truck. I had to keep driving. But my body wouldn't respond. The figure was closer now, so close I could almost touch it. I could hear its raspy breathing, each inhale like the sound of rustling leaves, and then the words came again. "Help us." It wasn't a plea, it wasn't a request. It was an order, and suddenly I understood. I wasn't alone on this highway, I never had been. There were others, drivers, people who had come before me. They were all here, all part of the road now, lost to the endless night. I didn't know how to escape. I didn't know if I could, but I knew one thing for sure. The road had me, and it wasn't ever going to let me go. That's the thing about the highway, you see. You think you can outrun it. You think you can drive far enough, fast, enough to escape. But the road knows, it's always watching, always waiting, and sooner or later it pulls you back in. And when it does, there's no going back. So if you ever find yourself driving through the night, if you ever see that flickering sign, that rest stop that doesn't quite look right, be careful. Because the road has a way of keeping you. And once it has you, you're one of them. The road doesn't stop. It keeps going, twisting and winding in ways you don't expect. You think you've reached the end, but it always pulls you back. Maybe that's the scariest part, the fact that it never ends. The ghosts, the spirits, the things that haunt the highway, they're all part of the road now. And sooner or later, if you're not careful, you'll become part of it too. It was a few nights after the last incident. I tried to push it to the back of my mind. The things I'd seen. The whispers. The eyes that never blinked. The figure that followed me across the highway, like it was always there, waiting for me to slip up. I thought I could outrun it. I thought if I just kept my distance, kept my foot heavy on the pedal, I'd be fine. But there's no escaping the highway. No matter how fast you go, no matter how far you travel, it finds you. This time, I was in the middle of nowhere. It was the kind of place where you could drive for hours and see nothing but the dark expanse of the road and the occasional flicker of a sign for some small town that barely existed. There was no cell service, no other cars, just me and the night. The radio was static. The engine was humming its monotonous tune, and the only sound was the steady rhythm of the tires against the road. It's funny, you start to find comfort in the noise. It becomes your companion. And yet on that night I felt nothing but dread. I didn't know what made me look in the side mirror. Maybe it was that feeling again, the one I couldn't shake, the one that told me I wasn't alone. Maybe it was instinct, or maybe deep down I just knew. But when I glanced in that mirror, I saw it. The headlights behind me. At first I thought it was another trucker. Another soul on the highway just trying to get to wherever they were going. But something felt off. The truck was too close. It wasn't just tailgating, it was on my tail, pushing me faster and faster. I could barely see the outline of the vehicle, just the headlights glaring behind me, illuminating the dark road in front of me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. This wasn't a normal trucker. And it wasn't a normal highway. I tapped the gas a little, trying to get away, but no matter how fast I drove, it stayed with me. The headlights never shifted, never faltered. The truck was right there just behind me. And that's when I noticed something else. There was no sound, no engine noise, just the low hum of the road beneath me. My pulse quickened, and I could feel my heart racing. I tried to speed up, but it didn't matter. The truck was still there, right behind me, almost close enough to bump my rear bumper. That's when I saw it. A flicker of movement in the side mirror. A figure standing in the truck's cab. And it wasn't just anyone. It was that same figure. The one from the rest stop. The one who had been following me all this time. The same glowing eyes. The same tattered rags. But now, it was different. It was closer. It was real. I slammed, my foot on the gas, pushing the truck as fast as it could go. But no matter how fast I drove, no matter how much I floored it, the truck never left. It stayed with me, just behind me, as if it was trying to catch up. I could see the figure now. It was smiling, its lips stretched unnaturally wide, revealing rows of sharp teeth that glinted in the headlights. I screamed. I couldn't take it anymore. The road was closing in on me. The darkness was swallowing me whole, and I didn't know where to turn. The truck was right there, so close I could feel its presence. It was like the thing was inside my head, inside my mind, pulling me into its nightmare. I couldn't look at the mirror anymore, I couldn't face it. But every time I looked ahead, the road was still the same. Dark, endless. No sign of any other vehicles, no exit, no place to go. Just the truck behind me, getting closer. Then, as if it was all some terrible dream, it happened. The headlights from the truck went out. Just like that, they blinked off. The road ahead was plunged into total darkness. I couldn't see a thing. The fog rolled in, thicker than I'd ever seen before. My heart was racing and my hands were shaking as I tried to keep the truck steady. And that's when I heard it. A low, guttural growl. It was coming from behind me. I didn't dare look back. But the growl was getting louder, closer. It wasn't just the truck anymore. There was something else out there. Something following me, in the dark. I swerved to the side, trying to find any sign of a road, a turnoff, anything. But there was nothing. Just endless black. The only thing I could hear was the growling and the thumping sound of something moving on the highway right behind me. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the noise stopped. I was still driving, still pushing through the fog when I saw it. The truck I had been running from, it was gone, vanished. Just like that. I pulled over, heart pounding in my chest, and tried to steady my breath. But the road was still there. The endless stretch of asphalt, and the fog that never seemed to lift. But then I saw something else. A figure standing in the middle of the road. Its shape was distorted, flickering in the dim light of my headlights. Slammed the brakes, nearly skidding into the figure, but it didn't move. I couldn't make out its face, but I knew what it was. It was watching me, And in that moment, I knew what I had to do. I had to drive. I had to keep moving. If I didn't, I'd be like all the others, trapped here on this road forever. I floored the gas pedal once more, but as I drove off into the dark, I heard a voice. Faint, but clear. You can't escape. There's no escaping the highway, my friend. If you think you can outrun it, think again. The road keeps calling, and eventually it finds you. One day, it'll be your turn to drive down that endless stretch of asphalt with no way out, and no place to hide. Just keep moving. The road never forgets.